Hello, everybody. This is AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose. I'm Keon Rose. Thank you for joining me today in Chattanooga, Tennessee, on a cloudy, rainy day. We had about, a week and a half, 2 weeks of sunshine and happy weather, and then now we're back to this horribleness. I like to call Chattanooga Seattle of the South. We actually average more rainfall than Seattle does. We're not cloudy for nearly as long, but it rains more here when it does rain. And it does rain quite often. Very often. So there's your weather report there. Because that's what you tuned in to the sports show for. Your weather. Okay. I'm just saying. If that is a fact that I knew, then I thought that I ought to share it with you. Now I'm sharing it. Got a lot to talk about. Wonderful, wonderful weekend of football. Alabama, Tennessee. That game went down to the wire. It was a slow starter for that game, but those last 3-4 drives or so, an absolute flurry of activity. Man, that's the one that got away there for Tennessee, but not in a heartbreaking way, really. Like, not in a soul-crushing way. Would be nice if they could have held on, but that's not a soul-crushing one, not like the Florida loss. That's a heartbreaker. This is just a close loss. I don't know how many of you are into the whole moral victory thing, and I'm not suggesting that this is necessarily one, but anybody who's thinking to themselves, like this is a disappointing loss, get this one checked. Like, go back and look at this one. This one was a close game. It was a winnable game. Yes, it did get away, but that Alabama defense is tough. I mean, it's real tough. Like, when they turn it up and when they decide to turn it on, and they did in those last few drives there against the Vols, you can't score on them. Like, they will not be scored on. It's crazy. And, of course, Arkansas and Auburn, that was a game that was highly enjoyable because quadruple overtime. 4 overtimes in that game. And, for Arkansas, there's a lot of running involved, but how they run the ball and the different ways that they can attack you, hit you with some triple option, just turn around and hand it off and just run right up the middle. Some pitches. I mean, Arkansas looks good running the football, and when they throw it, I mean, that works out really well for them also. Like, you have to respect their running so much. Throwing is not a problem for them. And Auburn loves to throw it already. And their receiver, Jason Smith, that guy is good. That guy is a baller. He is incredible. But Auburn goes down, topped by Arkansas. Arkansas was able to get the win, so I'm sure Mr. Judd will be happy about that. And, of course, in the NFL, Titans play the Falcons, which is the biggest NFL game so far as this area of the world is concerned. And that game was it was a little bit of a snoozer there. So we'll talk about all of those things. But before I get into that, let me talk to you about all of the different ways that you can contact and listen to Hot News Talk Radio, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. You can speak to us on there. We put up our classic episodes on YouTube, and we live stream, so you can just leave comments below. We'll talk to you, chat back. Also, Facebook and Twitter. Search Hot News Talk Radio. We're the first thing that comes up. Our Twitter handle is @HotNewsRadio. My Twitter handle is @SportsCloud. And we'd always love to hear from you. Mr. Judd and I do our picks every week on Facebook. I try and have those things up by Friday at the latest. You can go on there. You can put your picks. And see how you do against us. The two of us, we're not that bright. I feel like you can do better than us. So jump in there. It's open. It's like a jump rope situation. Just hop in. Just hop in. We ain't got no problem with that. Also, if you want to listen to us, you're not in your car, you're at work, you're going for a run, you're going for a jog, whatever the case may be, hotnewstalkradio.com. We stream 24/7, as well as on the TuneIn Radio app in the Apple Store or Google Play Store. It's free. Download it. Search Hot News Talk Radio. Give us a follow. Press play. And you will have Hot News Talk Radio wherever you go. So I'd like to talk to you about Alabama and Tennessee, because that game, I learned a lot of things from that game about both teams. And the kind of perception that we have in terms of the development of teams. When you bring in a guy like Butch Jones and you ask him, hey, fix this program, turn it around, how long a leash do you have for a guy like that? And when you start to expect the winning, does that necessarily mean that if the team is not winning, that they're not progressing? I learned a lot about Tennessee in that game. Oh, the last couple of games, really, but this one in particular. The Alabama defense is a legitimately terrifying thing. And still, Joshua Dobbs had a task. He had to get the ball moving up and down the field. He had to open it up and make long throws. And you know what? He did. He really did. He's been playing more like the dual threat quarterback that he was supposed to be, because he's been great at running, and as far as the short passes go, the screen games, the bubble screens, those things worked. And I feel like Tennessee was almost afraid to put Josh Dobbs in a position to throw the ball downfield and to be aggressive and to attack another team's secondary. So he either they didn't believe that he could, or he didn't believe that he should and he didn't pull the trigger. I'm not sure exactly which is true. All I know is that they weren't doing it. Okay, they just weren't doing it. And then they had that come from behind win a couple of weeks ago, in which Joshua Dobbs, because of the desperation, probably because they were down so big so early, he threw the ball down the field. And he was finding his tight ends in the seams, and he was hitting receivers for a lot of long passes. And you were like, this is Tennessee. It's supposed to be wide receiver you. We're not throwing to our receivers. Well, the last couple of games, it's been different. He's been pushing the ball down the field. And against that Alabama defense, that's really tough to do. That is incredibly tough to do. And so now once you add that air attack to Joshua Dobbs, his running becomes even more important. It becomes that much more important. And it looks like we have a caller. Caller, you're on the air.
Hey, Keon, this is Mr. Judd. I want to give you congratulations on your Longhorns for this weekend.
Thank you, sir.
And I agree with you. I think Tennessee looks good. I just think they got out-coached at the end of the game once again.
That did happen a little bit.
I mean, you've got Josh Dobbs, who's been running all over Alabama in their last series. They just make him stay in the pocket. You know, he's most dangerous when he's outside the pocket, and he actually throws better on the run. So I'm just going to put my 2 cents in work, and I'll listen to you on the radio as I do every day, Keon.
Well, thank you, Mr. Judd, for calling in. Look, the thing about that too, and I agree with that. The Joshua Dobbs does throw better outside of the pocket than in the pocket, and maybe it would have been better to get him moving around, moving the Alabama defense around, because when he stands and he's immobile in the pocket, the way he was at the end of the game, now the defense doesn't have to scramble. They can play exactly the way that they want to play, and they dictate the tempo. They dictate the pace. And they did. They really did. So, yeah, no, I think that Mr. Judd's right on that. You can catch Mr. Judd 11 to noon here on the Mr. Judd Show on Hot News Talk Radio. And I think he's absolutely right about about that. At least offer the threat of Joshua Dobbs being able to run. At least be able to offer that threat. And they didn't necessarily deliver on that. And that was part of the reason why they had scored early. Like, it even makes Jalen Hurd a little bit more dangerous when Joshua Dobbs moves, because you have to account for two guys who can take off in the backfield. Well, when you only have to keep an eye on Hurd, like, no disrespect to Jalen Hurd, but he's not the shiftiest back. He's a north-south runner. And this Alabama defense is big. They're not afraid of him. You said it last week right here on the show. If they turn around and hand that ball to Jalen Hurd, that's what Alabama wants. They're not afraid of Jalen Hurd on his own. And Dobbs had to be the scary factor there, and in the end of the game, he really wasn't. Alabama defense took it to another level, and Joshua Dobbs stayed more or less immobile in the pocket, and that was it. Like, they were just shut down at the end there. This is AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio Clutch with Keon Rose. We're talking about Tennessee and Alabama. Another thing that I learned from that game is that this guy, Derrick Henry, though we understand that he is more of a Heisman dark horse candidate because of how well Boykin is playing over in TCU and obviously how well Leonard Fournette is playing at LSU. But I think he's getting a little bit overshadowed, just a smidge. Our college football expert from Sporting News, college football writer Bill Bender, came on the show last week, and he talked a lot about Derrick Henry and how well Henry's been playing for the Crimson Tide. He's moving up Alabama record books with every week. He does something else amazing, and this week was no different. He had a few huge runs where everybody knew that Derrick Henry was going to get the ball, and Jay Coker turns around, he hands the ball to Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry gashes Tennessee again. I mean, dude was averaging 8.2 yards a carry in that game. It's crazy. He is an incredible back. And I don't think all of those things should be held against Tennessee the way they lost this game. They're still a very young team. Butch Jones, still a very young coach. I think that a lot of his problems with being outcoached in a lot of these situations, he's going to get better at that. It can't be like this for his entire time here. And I don't think it will be. And, like, for instance, we want to see the huge quick turnaround that we've seen in Florida. You know, McElwain has gone down to Florida and just turned them around in a jiffy. You go to Michigan and you see how well Harbaugh's doing up there. And Texas, Charlie Strong, he's there. It's his third season there. And Texas started off rocky, but they more or less are looking like the Texas team that you expected as of late. And you want to see that out of Butch Jones. This is also his third season here. And you're looking at the record of Tennessee and you're going, well, not that much has changed. And you're seeing a lot of bad losses, a lot of last-second losses, and they hurt. And I think you attribute that hurt to, well, Butch Jones is just not a good coach. Maybe Butch Jones is not the right guy for this job. And I think that's hasty. I really do. I don't think that Butch Jones is going to be outcoached at the end of games forever. Like, I feel like that's something that you could fix, that you can work on situationally. And of course, as the Volunteers get better, they're just going to be games that are in hand coming down to the end of the game. He's got to stay more aggressive with his game plans. He has a tendency to get conservative, but in this particular game, I can't blame it on that. You can't blame it on that. You can't compare Tennessee playing in the SEC and their development arc to a Texas or a Michigan or a Florida. Well, the way that Florida's been playing, they already had a ton of great defensive talent. Like that, they just already had it. So there's nothing to really see there. You know what I mean? This is AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio Clutch with Keon Rose. And coming up in a little bit, we'll talk Titans Falcons, Auburn, Arkansas, because that game was amazing. That game was absolutely incredible. And the NBA season also starts tomorrow. The World Series is tomorrow. So we'll talk a little bit about those things. as well. You can always find us on Facebook and Twitter, as well as YouTube. If you want to talk to us, hit us up. Let us know. Do you agree? Do you disagree with the things that we are telling you? I know that you guys have opinions. Let us know. Tweet at me at SportsCloud. A number of you have already done so to let me know that I'm a giant ignoramus and other things, and I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Thanks for reaching out. Seriously, we got into an argument about Cam Chancellor a few weeks back, and that was fun. That was absolutely fun. This is AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. Clutch with Keon Rose, Auburn, Arkansas, Titans, Falcons. Next.
This is America Now with Meghan McCain.
Al Gore running is crazy. You're flying around in your private jet all over the world, and you want average Americans to care about the environment. Don't you think you should be doing your part as well?
Meghan McCain, weekdays at 7 p.m.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Tired of insurance companies? Tired of doctors that won't spend time with you? Do something different. Leave the sick care model of medicine and come to Dr. Danielle Mitchell, the Chattanooga Sports Institute and Center for Health, where we're interested in long-term health solutions, not the quick fixes. Come see me, Dr. Danielle Mitchell, at the Chattanooga Sports Institute and Center for Health. I'm all about the long-term healthcare solutions and doing what's best. On the web, you can find me at ChattanoogaSportsInstitute.com. That's ChattanoogaSportsInstitute.com. Or call us at 875-1005, 875-1005, or find us on social media, Facebook, Dr. Danielle Mitchell, or the ChattanoogaSportsInstitute.com. Let's go, ya!
Are you tired of working in corporate America, or have you recently lost your job and would like to consider owning your own business? If you are, please call me, as I can help you look at franchises or business opportunities that fit you, the economy that we're in, and the type of businesses that are right in the greater Chattanooga area. After I help my clients find the right opportunity, I also help them find the best way to finance the business, including paying yourself through the startup phase. If you would like to learn more about opportunities that may be right for you, please call me for a free assessment. My name is Bruce Krebs at the Entrepreneur Source. Phone number is 423-875-5621.
Hi, this is your computer speaking. I don't feel so well. It's like I've come down with a bug, and I'm getting slower.
Affordable Computers. We fix sick computers. Your hometown guys at Affordable Computers will repair your PC in half the time of the big boys at an affordable price. No tricks, no gimmicks, no computer speak technobabble. Just good, quick, and courteous affordable service and repairs. Want to affordably supercharge your PC? Affordable Computers on Highway 58. Affordable Computers hand builds all desktops in-house. If you're looking for a better-than-new refurb laptop, $150 will get you a Dell or another name brand at Affordable Computers. Affordable Computers, Highway 58, between Arby's and Taco Bell. Also Fort O, Battlefield Parkway near Holcomb's. Affordable Computers, we service what we sell. Call 499-1975. That's 499-1975.
Wow, this is amazing. I'm feeling great, supercharged.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Costa, host of the Costa Report, every Sunday at 9 a.m. This week, we take a step back from politics, business, and global events to speak with well-being expert Deepak Chopra. We've all had the experience of feeling invisible at a party, at work, or at home. Join us as we discover what to do when we feel invisible this Sunday at 9 a.m. on the Costa Report, right here on AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Does Zach Mettenberger have any supporters left? Like, I feel like Zach Mettenberger, Tennessee Titans. Like, I think a lot of people defended him early on. I think we wanted to like him because he was at LSU. Zach Mettenberger is not very good. He's just as likely to give you a big play as he is to turn the ball over, create a big play for the other team. You know, he doesn't have the ability to protect the ball. Plus, he looks like he's 12. Like, that's not a real critique of a person. Like, that shouldn't be the thing that stands out. But like, his hair does this annoying thing where it flops to the side every time he takes off his helmet. I remember, was it last season? J.J. Watt saw him take a selfie before the game and just lit him up that game because, you know, you're in the league, you're a professional, you shouldn't be taking selfies. And I remember going, is J.J. Watt serious right now? Like, did he just get mad at a guy for taking selfies? Except Zach Mettenberger looks like the guy he looks like the 12-year-old who takes selfies in his parents' bathroom. So he's got a beard, but like the hair makes him look 12. It's unbecoming. I don't like it. It looks gross, and it needs to stop. And Zach Mettenberger basically had a chance to ruin the Falcons there. They had a chance to go up 2 scores. The Falcons were not playing great at all. Matt Ryan was having a terrible day. And Zach Mettenberger tries to force the ball in, getting hit as he throws an interception that's returned for like 60 yards. I mean, how does he have any supporters left? Like, this is the perfect game to exemplify why it is that they had to move on from him and go to Marcus Mariota in the first place. They might need to move on from Ken Wisenhunt as their head coach, but that's a different thing entirely. But Mettenberger, he has the talent. I just don't know that he has the mental aptitude to do this, because the bad decisions that he makes, when he does make bad decisions, they're not just kind of bad. They're all really, really bad. Like, they're all devastatingly bad decisions. Can't do that, man. It's going to be hard to beat most teams when you make decisions like that. It is. It's going to be hard to beat the Falcons, though, the way that they've been playing this season. When you make those decisions in that game, the Falcons win 10-7. There was an amazing catch or two by Julio Jones, as you would expect. But overall, that game was a snooze fest. That game was a hard game to watch. That was a bad game to listen to. And one of the local stations here had the Titans game on, and I was trying to listen to that one, and I was just like, man, this is rough. It's just hard to listen to. It's bad football. You know, I was like, I wanted that game to be good because that's the NFL game in this coverage area. It's the 2 local teams. The Falcons are playing very well. There's still a lot of promise for the Titans. And by the way, the AFC South is so terrible that the Tennessee Titans are still technically in it. Like, they have the ability to win that division because the Colts are bad, the Jags are bad, the Texans are bad. All 4 of those teams are so bad. You could get into the playoffs in the AFC South with 7-9. Like, seriously, if you get some good performances from Mariota and win like 5 games, that might be enough to get the Titans in, because Andrew Luck he looks awful. He looks dreadful. Like, he is just throwing interceptions left and right. And the thing is, he always has been throwing interceptions left and right. It's not new, but he's got even less weapons than he ever has. And man, like, the Colts look bad. The Jaguars continue to be bad. Blake Bortles, their quarterback, looks good, but outside of that, they look bad. And the Texans have a great front 4 on defense. And that's about it. They look the worst. And yet everybody in that division can probably make the playoffs if you could somehow stumble and rumble and bumble your way to 7 wins or 8. You could probably get in. The Tennessee Titans have no reason to believe that they can't get into the playoffs. None whatsoever. They're going to need Marcus Mariota, though. And he's dinged up. sprained MCL. He didn't play Sunday. Mettenberger proving why that the Mariota draft was necessary. That you're looking at that and you're going, well, maybe if you could get it done with Mettenberger, you could trade the pick and try and get some more pick. No. Take Marcus Mariota because Zach Mettenberger is bad at football. He's just not good at it. He throws interceptions like he wants to give the game away. And yesterday he did to a Falcons team that also looked like they didn't want to win the game either. So there you go. 10-7. This is AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio, Clutch with Keon Rose. And I'm done talking about the Titans and the Falcons because I don't know what else to say about them. At least next week the Titans aren't going to go lay another, or the Falcons aren't going to go lay another egg like that. The Titans, can't promise you that. Sorry. That's literally something I cannot promise you. You might get another egg. That's very possible. Now, last week we also talked about Mississippi and A&M. I talked about that being a game to watch last week. I apologize. Okay, that was a terrible game. Mississippi beats up on A&M 23-3. I just thought that since A&M put up that huge fight against Alabama, that could be an entertaining game, and nope. No such thing happened. Chad Kelly throws 240 yards and two touchdowns. He also has 3 interceptions, though. It's just they gave A&M the ball. Chad Kelly gave Texas A&M the ball 3 times, and they lose 23-3. The Aggies could not score a touchdown despite being given the ball, being gift-wrapped the ball 3 times. Couldn't do it. And I don't know what to tell you. That's such a bad game. They looked so inept offensively. And they do that thing where they swap back and forth between quarterbacks. Neither of them got anything going. And they both looked bad. And no touchdowns were thrown. And no touchdowns were rushed for. And it's just bad. It's just a bad game. Mississippi didn't give you anything to root for either. What with Chad Kelly trying to give the game away 3 times? I don't know what to tell you on that one. I have no words for that. Except that I'm sorry that I told you that was a game to watch. But I did redeem myself. Did I not? I said Auburn and Arkansas. That game went to quadruple overtime, 54-48. Mr. Judd's Hogs over the Auburn Tigers, and Brett Bielema, for the first time since Gus Malzahn has finally beaten Gus Malzahn, the student always owning the teacher until now. That game was fun. Even when I have to go back and look through the stats, just seeing 4 overtimes, and in the overtimes there were 2-point conversions, and Brandon Allen for Arkansas, really good job. 19 of 31, 233 yards, 3 touchdowns thrown. Cody Walker rushed for 2. Alex Collins rushed for another touchdown. He went for 105 yards on the day. I mean, there's just so much to see. And then you got a great game from Auburn as well. And they were all rushing touchdowns. Every single touchdown that Auburn scored was a rushing touchdown. And you'd think, given that Auburn is how they are, they love to spread it out, they love to throw the ball, and given how Arkansas is, that they just love to grind everything and run it, that would be the other way around, that Auburn would be the one with the passing touchdowns and Arkansas would be the one with the rushing touchdowns. But that is not the case. Peyton Barber, 37 carries, 120 yards, 4 touchdowns on the ground. Jason Smith, 1 carry, touchdown. Jeremy Johnson, also 1 carry, 1 yard, 1 touchdown. I mean, they found a way to get it done. Whatever it took to get the ball into the end zone, that is what Auburn did. It just wasn't enough to beat Arkansas, and that was a fun game. Every quarter had something amazing happening. Brett Bielema, I don't know if he's redeemed himself in the eyes of Arkansas fans, and maybe Mr. Judd can call back and tell me what he thinks about that. But My thing with this whole thing is the defense. There was none. Like when it finally came down to be gut check time, who was going to stand up and make a stop? Nobody wanted to make a stop. But those are usually the more entertaining games. Those are the more entertaining games. The ones where it's just back and forth and haymaker for haymaker. AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio. This is Clutch with Keon Rose. I'm Keon Rose. And that was a ton of fun. I got my blood absolutely boiling on Sunday. The Redskins won. And I know that this is not a thing that everybody wants to talk about, so I will try and keep it brief. But the Redskins have the biggest comeback in franchise history, and they beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 31-30, overcoming a 24-point deficit. And let me tell you something. You want a good way to get your heart rate up, a nice, good weight loss plan, just be a Redskins fan. You will sweat everything that you have on you away on Sunday. Your heart rate will be up constantly. You'll be rocking back and forth. And you'll either be happy or disappointed. You'll usually be disappointed, but not yesterday. Not yesterday. I got a little pep in my step today. Longhorns win. Redskins win. NBA starting back tomorrow. So good. It feels so good. I'm going to try and catch some Atlanta Hawks games. I mean, the Hawks look impressive. Man, there's just so many good things happening. Tennessee went out and competed yesterday. And oh, by the way, this is the easy part of their schedule that they have coming up now. I think that's the thing about Tennessee's schedule. Tennessee played all of the hard stuff first. Like, as bad as their record looks, it's more exaggerated than it actually is. First off, those games were close that Tennessee did lose to Oklahoma, lost to Florida, and lost to Arkansas. None of those games were decided by greater than 4 points. Even this loss to Alabama, that's a 5-point loss. I mean, all within a touchdown. These are all close games. You cannot do the sports fan thing where you just catastrophize every loss. These are close losses, and this is a young team. What do young teams need to learn how to do? They need to learn how to close out games. And I think next season may be that season where you start to see these close losses become close victories. I mean, you just have to give it time. And we all want to rush Butch Jones to Harbaugh status. Like, look how good Michigan is playing right now. Why aren't you doing that? Well, first off, you're not in the Big Ten, which outside of Ohio State, Michigan, and Michigan State, there's not a whole lot there. Why can't you be doing right now what McElwain is doing at Florida? Well, first off, that defense, McElwain walked into an incredible defense. Those guys on that team were already great defenders before McElwain got there. He's a good coach, so he made it work, but it's not like he walked into a team devoid of talent and had to completely build it from scratch. Butch Jones did have to do that. It's just you've got to be fair. You've got to be fair and say, this is what you had to work with. It's just that same way in life. Understanding what people had to work with, you judge people based on the situations that they're in and not just pure results. You can't do that. It's not a practical way to live. It's just not. That if someone fails to do something because they weren't given as good as a hand as someone else, then guess what? You can't blame them for that. That's literally impossible. Some people do manage to overcome, but everybody won't. You take these things into account. That's the smart way to do it. And you're a Tennessee fan, you've got to do that with Butch Jones. The situation that he walked into is wholly different than what McElwain walked into in Florida, different from what Harbaugh walked into in Michigan, different than whoever walks into USC, what they're going to walk into. They're going to walk into a nice situation at USC. Tennessee was not that when Butch Jones got here. This is Clutch with Keon Rose, AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Are you tired of feeling like just another account number to your financial advisor? Try something refreshingly different. Call Edward Jones Financial Advisor Patrick Neal in Hickson at 870-7894. Edward Jones, making sense of investing. Member SIPC.
We've got a table here at Delia's in Saudi Daisy, ready to delight in a plate of authentic Mexican food. Delia's spreads a rich selection: loaded nachos, crazy chicken, homemade tamales, maybe the enchiladas with beef, chicken, pork, quesadillas. Every dish beautifully pictured on the menu to help us decide. Join us for lunch or dinner. We're at Delia's in Saudi Daisy on Dayton Pike near the Thrasher Light. Here's dinner. Delia's uses the freshest ingredients, cooked to perfection. Nachos, homemade. Delia's open every day except the Lord's Day. For lunch and dinner, treat yourself to Delia's genuine Mexican food. In Saudi, call 521-7145. That's 521-7145.
Social media, we're on that. Hot News Talk Radio on Facebook, at Hot News Talk Radio on Twitter. Download the TuneIn app and follow us anywhere at any time. AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
Who's the best playmaker in college football? Who is the best playmaker in college football? Because if you needed someone to make a big play, you only had one chance. Who do you choose? This is not a Heisman vote. It's not a Heisman vote. It's not the cumulative who's played well this season. You've got one play for someone to make a big play for you. You're just an average football team, and you've got to choose one guy to replace one of your average guys. Do you take Leonard Fournette, Derrick Henry, Trayvon Boykin, JT Barrett? Who do you take? Who do you take? I'm gonna go with Boykin. I'm going to go with Trayvon Boykin. What he does is not real. He looks like a video game character. Whenever he does like anything, it looks like it came out of an NCAA video game. It's ridiculous. Do you take Ezekiel Elliott? Because you could. You could. At any given moment, any of the running backs that I named just now, Henry, Elliott, Fournette, those guys tear off yards in chunks. Just rip them. I especially just watching Alabama and Tennessee this weekend, the way that Derrick Henry hits holes, and I haven't had a chance to watch a ton of Alabama this season, so this was like one of my first times really sitting down and watching the Crimson Tide. The way that Derrick Henry, his vision is so amazing. When he hits holes, he hits them strong, hits them hard, and he's gone. Derrick Henry is out of there. And like you cannot, and then of course when you try and catch him in a foot race, like good luck with that. Good luck with that. You're not going to do that. You can't run him down. Do you go with Fournette / Elliott, who are guys that are more likely to just eat you when they find you? I mean, you still, if Auburn to this very day, there are still guys on that team that have nightmares of what Leonard Fournette did to them. He just ran through their defense and devoured everyone that he came into contact with. It was unreal. And by the way, LSU beating Western Kentucky. I didn't have the score written down in front of me. But Western Kentucky, LSU beats them 48-20. Western Kentucky is a very good football team now. Now, I think that is a thing that maybe we should probably start distancing ourselves from, where you just have teams that have historically not been very good, and so you just kind of attribute sucking to them, basically. Western Kentucky is one of those teams where you could just look at it and go, I've never sat down and watched Western Kentucky play an entire game in my whole life. Probably never will. But Western Kentucky's a really good football team now. That was their first loss to LSU. And they still played well. Quarterback, Brandon Doughty, 325 yards, 3 touchdowns. It wasn't like they played poorly. Okay. Brandon Harris for LSU, 286 and 3 touchdowns. But Fournette, again, another 150 yards in a game. Just like it was nothing. It's really hard to stop that team. And when Alabama and LSU play each other in 2 weeks, who's going to be the tougher team to stop? Is it going to be who's going to be the tougher back to stop? Is it going to be Henry, or is it going to be Fournette? I think those are really good questions. Really, really good questions. I'm not sure who is more terrifying. I really like Henry behind Alabama's O-line. They open up holes for him, and his vision is so amazing. When he finds it, he's very decisive. He puts his foot in the ground, and he's gone. And I don't know that Leonard Fournette necessarily has that advantage of having quite that offensive line, but he doesn't need a perfect hole. And when he makes contact with you, there's just a level of respect there that if you're not big enough to tackle him, he's not going down at all. Who is more afraid of whom in this game? Is it Henry or is it Fournette? That's going to be a great game. That's going to be coming up in 2 weeks. I can't wait for it. Pretty excited. Pretty excited. You know, one other thing though that I think is interesting, because I started talking about it and then I derailed myself, as I often do with useless gasbaggery, is that I was going to be talking about Tennessee's schedule a little bit and just how they played all of the difficult teams first in the schedule. That they started the season with Bowling Green, but then they played Oklahoma, almost won that. Played Western Carolina, beat them to death. Played Florida, almost won that. Played Arkansas, could have won that one. Played Georgia, that was the come from behind game, and they lost to Alabama, and they could have won that one on Saturday as well. The games that they've got left, though, Kentucky. Not a guaranteed victory, but they are better than Kentucky. South Carolina, with the coaching change and everything else, and the fact that the Gamecocks just haven't really been consistent this whole season, better than South Carolina. Better than North Texas. Better than Missouri. And they end the season with Vanderbilt, whom they are also better than. So Tennessee has got an open schedule to end this season. Just completely open. And so technically, I mean, they're still alive in the SEC East. They need probably, like, to win the East. They could probably do it. They need help. They need help, but they can do it. You know? And so, for Tennessee fans to be disheartened by what happened on Saturday, I wouldn't be. They stood up to an Alabama defense, and they put down the blueprint, by the way. Maybe they didn't put down the blueprint so much as they reinforced the blueprint as to how it is that you beat Alabama, which is that your defense has to stop them and dictate the pace of the game, which is easier said than done, admittedly. Your defense has to at least direct them into situations where they're passing the ball more than they're running the ball. And when you do dictate that they pass, then you've got to defend. You've got to stop them from actually completing those passes. And on that last drive, Tennessee was not able to do that, which is why Alabama marched up the field and scored the touchdown. Mostly because they just had a couple of back-to-back incredible catches from those receivers that they had, Stewart and Ridley. Ridley made a great catch on the right sideline, and then going back the other way on the left sideline, Stewart had an amazing catch, climbed the ladder, had a defender's arm on his bicep pulling on him, and he still made the catch, hung on. And so, I mean, you forced them to do the thing that you wanted them to do. You've got to stop them from completing those passes, and when they make incredible plays like that, there's nothing that you can really do to stop it. There's not a whole lot that you can do. I mean, Tennessee played the perfect game for them that they had to play against Alabama to win. And the fact that they did not win does not mean that they didn't play well or, it's all doom and gloom that the sky is falling. They're still alive in the SEC East, and they've got like nobody left on the schedule. The teams that can trip them up, probably Kentucky and Missouri, probably. And Missouri's not playing well at all. Vanderbilt beat them, and Vanderbilt beat them. Vanderbilt needed probably to do that quarterback change several games ago. Brutal slugfest of a game, low-scoring affair. But even though the score was 10-3, I wouldn't say that game was an ugly game. Because Vanderbilt's been very good at defense this season. Like defense, if you like a defensive game, or if you want to watch Vanderbilt games and enjoy them on any level, watch their defense. It's good. It's good, and it's really fun. I mean, those guys fly around and get after it. Vanderbilt is pretty good at defense. Surprisingly, they're holding a lot of their opponents down. Teams that you wouldn't expect. Teams that you wouldn't expect. Like they lost to South Carolina, but that game was closer than I would have thought. 19-10. They lost to Ole Miss. Gave up 27. Lost to Western Kentucky. Gave up 14. And Western Kentucky, that team can score. That's a team that is capable of scoring a lot of points incredibly quickly. Lost to LSU, like I said earlier, but they put up 20. Put up a lot of yards, just not against Vanderbilt. Just not against Vanderbilt. Look out for that Vanderbilt defense. It's pretty solid. As they beat Missouri 10-3. So Missouri, when they play Tennessee later in the season, I'm not entirely certain that they're going to be able to win that one. I'm just not sure. My money is on Tennessee. I'm telling you that pick weeks in advance. Weeks in advance. Mr. Judd and I do our picks. I'm not even going to wait till then to give you that pick. You can go ahead and just write that one down. Clutch with Keon Rose said, Tennessee, they're beating Missouri later. That's happening. I don't feel like I have to be looking into a crystal ball to see that particular one. That one looks like a no-brainer to me. And you're looking at the Vols and you're going, they're in a pretty good position right now. They're in a better position than they're getting credit for. Definitely. They're in a better position than most of the SEC East, which when you compare it to the West is kind of dreadful. Not great. Tennessee should have had more of a chance than they did coming down the end of that game. Aaron Medley, their kicker, missed 3 field goals, but in fairness, he did miss 2 from outside of 51 yards, 51 and out. I mean, 51 yarders, those aren't chip shots. You would have thought that maybe he could make 1, but not guaranteed there. Not at all guaranteed. The blueprint to beating Alabama is to hold them down defensively, maybe oversell on stopping the run, and then force them to pass. And you know what? You have to win those one-on-one matchups when you force them to pass. You can't help too much on the pass because obviously then they'll just turn around and hand it to Derrick Henry, and that's just easy times for them. That's what they want to do. AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio. This is Clutch with Keon Rose. You can talk to us. Facebook, Twitter. We've also got the phone line. 423-800-8949. 800-8949. Make sure that you call us. Facebook, Twitter, search Hot News Talk Radio. We'd love to hear from you. We see the numbers going up on the Facebook page, people following, people interacting with us, and we appreciate each and every one of you. You can find us on YouTube. We put our episodes up. They're not old. They're classic episodes. Okay. And you can comment there as well. If you comment, we comment back. I'll try and find you. I'm on YouTube. I go back and I make sure I check the videos. And if someone's commented, I try and respond incredibly quickly. I'll probably be on Facebook as soon as this show is over. Just try and put up some things, some articles that I thought were interesting. You can tweet at me personally at SportsCloud. AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. We're all over the place. TuneIn Radio app for your mobile device. Got an iPhone or an Android phone? Go to the Apple Store or the Google Play Store. Download the app. It's completely free. Give us a follow, press play, and you can have Hot News Talk Radio everywhere you go. Excited about the Mets and the Royals in the World Series. So we'll talk more about that tomorrow, but that's going to be a great World Series matchup here. I think if it were Mets Blue Jays, that might be a worse matchup just because of how the Blue Jays play. It's just not a great matchup. It's a great fastball team that they've got over there in Toronto. Mets not necessarily great against that, but who knows? The way Daniel Murphy's mashing the ball out of the park, who even knows anymore? Who even knows? For me, I'll be fine just watching a great series of baseball. That's going to be fun. Obviously, the basketball season starts tomorrow. I know nobody around here really, really cares and won't care until basically December when this whole college football business starts to wrap up, come to a close. But I've been having a great time. This is the best time here on the sports calendar. All of these things are colliding and intersecting. Start of basketball, college football in full swing, World Series underway. What could be better than all of this? NFL also moving along. Falcons playing great. Hawks look like they're going to be good. Volunteers in a better position than you realize. This is AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. Clutch with Keon Rose. I'll see you in 23 hours.
Media Network's coverage of the NFL. Hi, this is Jerry Recco. Join Kevin Ray, Danny White, and myself for all the action.
Hot News Talk 1240.
If it's the NFL, it's right here.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
Hot News Talk 1240.
Cell Surgeon, an affordable quick fix for your smartphone and tablet in North